Memory transcription subject: Governor Tava of the Venal Republic. Date: Standardized Human Time, December 9th, 2136.
It was obvious that the human was resisting the urge to comfort Scifi. Even while the Venal rescue was immobilized, her eyes screamed misery. Sarah acted as my support pillar, giving me the courage to peer out the window. The Venal capital had been plunged into chaos, with a free-for-all dash to the bunkers. Erratic driving was rampant, and the wrecks would soon cause a traffic jam that made road travel impossible. Our Venal driver cursed, spotting a multi-car pile-up down the street. After thinking for a moment, he steered us up onto the sidewalk. The chauffeur yanked the steering wheel and crept along slowly to give pedestrians time to move out of the way. We rolled down the sidewalk at a crawl. Other vehicles began to act upon the same idea. I wish my driver hadn't decided I deserved special treatment for being the governor. The crowd congregated in our path, and I noticed a few humans among those walking. The predators remained their normal selves amidst the chaos, evidenced by them shooting middle fingers at our cars. One Terran even slammed the hood of my vehicle, though he stopped when he recognized me and Sarah. Word travelled that Tava and an Odyssey astronaut were the passengers, and the pedestrians parted. We swerved back onto the road, past the massive wreck that would have delayed us. The tunnel up ahead was the site of the nearest bunker, so we had cleared the distance in a few minutes. I checked my holopad for updates, and hoped Cam would apprise me of the situation soon. Who was attacking us, and what were their goals? Oh, Tava, this is apocalyptic! Sarah pointed to a handful of flaming vehicles and stampede corpses near the bunker. There's so many dead for no reason at all. Where are your emergency services? I heaved a sigh. Honestly, this looks like less stampede casualties than usual. There will be no responses from EMS until the lockdown has passed. They're trying to get to the bunkers, same as everyone else. People are going to bleed out in the streets, not getting medical aid. Someone has to help. It's little solace, but I think humans have helped, just by being here. You stopped Venal from panicking. You kept your wits and directed your friends. A horrified expression took over Sarah's face, and her eyes were wide with disbelief. The UN security bartered us to disembark, since it would be quicker to clear the final meters on foot. My scientist friend scooped up Scifi, kneading her scruff to comfort her. That gesture had the opposite effect, but the predator kept trying. We hopped out into the smoky air, and I studied the burning wrecks of the cars. One foot in front of the other. That was the mantra I told myself. The flames crackling around me reminded me of the human stampede, and that awful day that Elias Meyer was taken away from us. Venal were trapped within the car wrecks, and many languished on the ground with gruesome injuries. I could see in the Terrans' faces that they wished to help, but they prioritized getting me to safety. Human instincts encourage them to help strangers in trouble. Can Scifi recognize their empathy's manifestation for what it is? A screeching wail pierced the air, just enough that my ears picked it up. A few devices mirrored its sound close behind. Flashing lights appeared in my periphery as the hum played up and down. The noises sped to quick bursts, followed by the deeper sound of a blaring horn. Massive trucks were coming from the direction of the hospital, emblazoned with the logo of the UN. "Wait, what is that?" Scifi cried. "Hey, hunting signal?" Sarah's lips curved up. "Just look, sweetie. Please, look." My own eyes widened with disbelief as an entire armada of predators rushed to the scene. Humans in bulky, reflective pelts and hard helmets exited a red truck. They readied a massive hose and began spraying gallons of water onto a burning car. I watched as they battled the blaze, tackling it with determination. More of their guild arrived to extinguish other flames. Boxy trucks were also in the area, with stretchers descending from their back hatches. Human paramedics never ran, but their steps were purposeful and well-intentioned. Somehow they were collected amidst pure chaos. The external stressors rolled right off of them. The Terrans began tending to the critically wounded, providing life-saving measures. Why were these humans not getting themselves to safety? How could they stay on duty with the threat of antimatter annihilation hanging over them? To think that they would risk their lives for Venal who had gotten wounded in our own panic. Scifi gawked as security encouraged us to keep moving. Perhaps it surprised her that humans were trained in medicine at all. These actions were selfless and altruistic, risking their own hires to save others. This was the epitome of why I fought for their species, and why I thought the Earthlings had good hearts. They were heroes in their best moments. Sarah sighed as we joined a waiting queue by the bunker's massive elevator. Any update, Tava? The doors chimed open within a few seconds, and I kept my eyes on my holopad. My tail flicked in the negative. The humans nodded, understanding. Terran paramedics shouted for us to hold the lift before wheeling a patient into the car. Without further ado, we hurtled down to the bunker's underground hideout. I huddled next to Sarah, trying not to think of how cramped it was. The Predator EMTs began setting up a makeshift hospital, and I reminded myself to commend their efforts if we survived. Hayas's eyes darted around the bunker. I could tell that her sedative had begun to wear off. The rescue wriggled her legs, earning Sarah's attention. Had I been thinking clearer at the facility, it would have occurred to me to pack another dose. The paramedics might have something to knock her out, if it came to that. Hayase wasn't the only rescued Venlul spiraling. A few individuals from the program had fainted or gone catatonic. Others were engaged in full-blown panic attacks, or cowering near catatonic at masked humans' feet. Terran civilians comprised about 10% of the bunker's population, so there was no avoiding the sight of them. I'm going to put you down, Hayase. Just stay put, okay? Sarah still had the Museum of History photos under her arm. She shifted them into her hands with deft motions and flipped through them. You let the Farcel show you footage of us. Don't you think it's better to let us show footage of us? Hayase whined feebly. Who told you? Fucking Glim? Answer my question. Are you that opposed to seeing things which contradict what you already know? You've decided we're evil. Hayase, you thought it yourself all the way back then. There's more to humans than wars and violence, I said. Sarah latched onto my contribution. You heard us talk about all those good things. Love, community, nature. You just saw evidence with your own eyes of our desire to help. Let me show you a little more proof. Let me show you how we present our history. The Venlul rescue trained her eyes on the paramedics, who were giving blood transfusions to an individual with critical wounds. Her gaze wandered, as if she were counting the number of Gaians in the room. Hayase noticed that some Terrans were scared. Many were crying or showing signs of distress. Human children clung to their parents, and even a few Venlul were comforting the Predator young. One Earthborn kid tugged at his mother's pelt. Not again. I want to go home, but please. Manipulation? Hayase asked, pointing at the child. It doesn't want to resist its hunger again? Can't be scared. Sarah fiddled with her curls. I'm scared shitless too. This brings back a lot of memories of being caged in a bunker for days on Earth, as billions died, and we didn't know if we'd be next. It was traumatic, and that kid doesn't know if this is any different. The human scientist tugged out 2 photographs and passed one to Hayase. The rescue cringed, touching the same paper as Sarah. I leaned over the Predator's shoulder, inspecting the image. It was a timeline of early civilizations on Earth, including ancient settlements and hunting methods. Ancient philosophers were depicted, along with temples and pyramids. How do you think that humans would define the start of civilization? Sarah asked. Hayase choked on phlegm. First hunting tools. No. Read the part at the top of that exhibit, Hayase. Healed femur is the earliest sign of civilization. Why? Because it takes months to recover from that injury and requires help from others to survive. This is how humans define civilization. Helping others. But when did wounded people stop being left to die, human? A few decades ago? The first archaeological evidence of a healed femur is from 15,000 years ago. Someone had to care for that person and nurse them back to health. We never stopped caring, Hayase, not even in our darkest moments. Whenever you look for compassionate heroes among humans, you will find them. That is my promise to you. Huddled in the bunker with thousands of others, I absorbed that lesson alongside Hayase. It was a nice benchmark to ascribe to civilization, a scientific way to quantify when a species starts caring. The Venlo historian squinted at the photograph before handing it back to Sarah. Her ragged frame was quivering, while her voice was still fraught with terror. Hayase cleared her throat. But what was the other photo? It's the exhibit of our accomplishments as a spacefaring species. It applies to the Venlo and every alien race. It's proof that we reached out in open friendship, long before we knew there was anyone out there. You think we're terrifying predators, but really, we're sad, lonely primates screaming into the void. Please explain. We sent manned missions to our moon in the name of progress. We sent rovers to explore the planets within our system and took images of every orbital body. We love knowledge, Hayase. We'll run to the end of the universe for a drop of it, but none of that searching turned up anything. But you didn't give up. You say you invented FTL? On your own? We did. I'm proud to have been on our first planetary survey mission. But before that, we would scan the skies for signals from aliens. We sent a probe out of our solar system with information about our world and greetings. It was called Voyager. The Venlo Rescue inspected the blurb about the Voyager probe, and I squinted with equal fascination. Seeing humanity's innocent curiosity had wiped away my dread, despite the threat of an imminent attack. Images of their planet, music, sounds of nature, and mathematical schema were sent to the stars. Greetings were also recorded from 55 Earth tribes, wishing peace and good health. The UN Secretary-General of those early days had inscribed words of peace and friendship, which I could envision Elias Meyer himself stating. I could hear them spoken in Elias's voice, acknowledging that Earth was but a small corner of the universe, putting forth humanity's desire to learn from alien cultures and their willingness to share from their own library of knowledge as well. It wasn't going to reach any planetary system for 40,000 years, Hayase. Long after any of the humans involved in it could benefit from manipulation, Sarah said. The simplest explanation is that we wanted friends, and that we wished you well before we ever knew you. Hayase threw the picture down. How can you prove that you didn't invent this, or compile it after making contact with the Venlil? You can calculate where Voyager is today as well as we can. The weathering of time should be evident on it. Actually, the UN wanted to encourage Tava to go pick it up. It was meant for aliens to hear, and there couldn't be a better recipient than our first friends. It would be sentimental for us. I chuckled. I'll do it. Well, assuming we don't all die today. Tava! My God, you can't go around saying that. I am merely accepting the possibility. I am hopeful it won't come to that. But if the end is near, I am thankful to spend this time learning about the species I love. It would be an honor to give your Voyager greeting a proper look over. It's beautiful, Hayase admitted. There's no reason to tell so much about yourselves and open yourselves up to scrutiny, to danger. A wistful sigh was all I could muster. They reached out to the stars and expected the galaxy to do the same. They couldn't help themselves. It's simply who humanity is as a species. My holopad buzzed, alerting me to an incoming message. I snapped my focus away from Sarah and ignored stares from across the bunker. The human and I were recognizable figures on Venlo Prime. It was our security who kept strangers from approaching. The people expected answers from me, and I hoped I had them soon. Call me at your earliest convenience, General Cam had texted. General Jones of the United Nations has pressing information. These details could be sensitive, but there was no privacy within the bunker's main area. Thankfully, my earbuds were available to keep the word secret. I dispatched video communications to Cam at once, fumbling with the keystrokes. The Venlo military officer appeared on screen, a worried glint in his eyes. He added Jones to our call, and the high-ranking human studied me with her usual bravado. The Predator flashed her teeth. Governor Tava, thank you for allowing me to phone in. I wish it was under more pleasant circumstances. What? Heart-wrenching concern permeated my awareness, and my thoughts leapt to the gorgeous settlements of my homeworld. Is Venlo Prime safe? Were our cities hit? How did the battle go, and who is attacking us, and why? Cam raised a placating paw, a humanesque gesture he'd absorbed. Venlo Prime has not been hit by any missiles at this time. There are a few hundred ships seemingly hailing from Arthur. We've taken care of most of the Kolshian bastards, and we should be able to clean up the rest without issue. So we can stop them short of orbital?
Well, short of orbital range, ma'am. Our advanced warning systems did their duty, and our defensive fleet outnumbered theirs by a substantial margin. Throw in humans being humans, the Kolshians got pancaked. I'm hopeful we can give the all clear within the hour.
We just can't rescind the emergency until the last enemy is dispatched. I understand, and it's a weight off my chest. Thank you, Cam.
It's not how well their attack went that concerns me,
General Jones interjected. It's why they went through with it in the first place. It wasn't with the intent of succeeding. I tilted my head in confusion, unable to decipher the Predator's meaning. Perhaps Sarah would grasp an attack meant to fail. I couldn't see the objective, other than a spiteful revenge spurred by fight instincts. Then again, it was positive news that Venlo Prime was unlikely to suffer any damage today. The last thing I wanted was to tell my citizenry that the Federation harmed our home. Also, how could it be herbivores and not the Arxor assaulting our space? It was difficult to process what Cam had stated, though I didn't allow myself to dwell on it. I realized that the Venlo Republic was a treasonous enemy to the Kolshians. Siding with humanity put us at odds with the Federation by default. It was simply unlike the tentacled manipulators to go on the offensive. Prey only defend what is theirs. Isn't that their view on warfare? Why the sudden aggression? I swished my prosthetic tail. I'm not certain what point they're trying to prove, General Jones. I'm only happy that their ships lie in ruin and that you have protected us again.
Allow me to share some intel that was passed along our novel FTL comms. Each of our allies is reporting a similar incursion in their home system. All failures, none with a convincing show of force. That leads me to believe that the Kolshians were testing our defenses. This was just recon.
What does that mean? But please, tell me if I should worry.
It means shit is about to hit the fan. The Kolshians are assessing the weakest targets and also gathering intel for the planning stage. The intelligence community on Earth analysed the most likely targets, and Venlo Prime isn't high on the list. However, I don't think preemptive buffs to your defences could hurt.
Okay, we have the upgrades you gave us and we'll bring in more ships.
We'll help you too, since you're a priority to the UN. But humanity can't protect everywhere at once. We need goals beyond defensive measures. A forward strategy, if you will. And that means earning more allies. I sure hope the Dorton, or someone, comes around.
I'll keep my ears peeled in that matter. Thank you for the information, Generals. I'm going to calm down the people here and try to fix the fallout with the cattle rescues. Many saw your faces for the first time.
That's a good idea. We don't need any domestic situations arising for you. The United Nations and its subsidiaries will be in touch. Please keep us apprised of any developments. General Cam dipped his head. Take care, Governor. We'll see you soon.
The call fizzled out to a black screen, and I pondered what I'd learned. My mouth moved to inform Sarah, Hysi, and the bunker's other occupants that we should vanquish this incursion. However, the words were passed along on autopilot. From the sound of what General Jones discussed, the Kolshians were bringing a massive force to our alliance's weakest link. The Federation was attempting to regain control forcibly, after humanity scored 2 crushing victories. I feared that another planet could become a casualty of this war, before the tide turned. There were no positives in dead civilians on any world. It was up to the Predators to ascertain the Kolshians' game plan, and to get ahead of their next move.